Who Am I think this is a right time that we have come to this book, Who Am I? And this Who Am I book is going to sort of give the core teaching of Bhagavan as expounded by Bhagavan to Sivaprakasham Pillai in the year 1902, which was not published by Ashram until very late. But Sivaprakasham Pillai, as we understand, got it published through his own source in Chennai or wherever in Madras those days. And it was there, and he was using this book as the core of his Vedantic practice, of his Vichara, and he was sitting and doing. He was sort of glued only to this book. Nothing else was needed for him. This was more than enough. These questions that he had posted to Bhagavan in the year 1902, when Bhagavan was still in Mauna. Mauna, not out of any sankalpa, just he didn't feel like talking. Later on, he revealed. He was now, a lot of people thought Bhagavan has taken a 3-year Mauna Vratam sankalpa and all that. Once it never anything, no sankalpa of any form. I just was not inclined to talking. I didn't talk. As simple as that, he made it. So, when these questions were put to Bhagavan by Sivaprakasham Pillai in the year 1902, according to the time when it was done, Bhagavan gave answer either he wrote in the sand where he was sitting, and Sivaprakasham Pillai immediately copied it from the sand surface, or he wrote in a piece of paper given by Sivaprakasham Pillai to him. Whatever means, it was written, it was sort of written in a very unconventional way, and immediately, which meaning it would, the way it was written, it is going to be destroyed in no time. So Prakasham Pillai made it a point to immediately then and there to copy whatever Bhagavan had written and made a compilation. So these were answers given to the questions posted by Sivaprakasham Pillai initially, in order for him to quench his thirst of who he was. Right from when he was a student of philosophy in college days, he had this nagging problem about solving the issue called Who Am I? So he tried to find it out from various Vedantic literatures that he had come across, or some Western philosophical materials and other things, but none of them proved to be satisfactory enough. So what he decided was, he was having this, nevertheless, this thought was really behind his mind, and he was really sitting with that thought for a long time. And it happened that in 1902, he had the opportunity to meet Bhagavan, who was then known as Ramana Swami, he was not yet named Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi. So local people called him as Brahmana Swami. And so he was directed to the Brahmana Swami, and he went there up the hill to see Bhagavan. And he started slowly posting these questions one after the other. And he was extremely thrilled by the kind of answer that he obtained from Bhagavan and recorded them. This is how Who Am I came about. And later on, much later, the whatever book he had published was presented to Bhagavan. And Bhagavan saw that and thought it's good to write it in an essay form, and that is when the first ashram public version of Who Am I came about. Bhagavan wrote it in essay form and in Tamil. Later on, it was translated in English, and now in so many languages. I mean, I don't know, plenty of languages, almost all language. The people who come to Bhagavan to have his darshan, including Spanish, German, Russian, whatever. It is there in all the languages because this forms the core of Bhagavan's teaching. So, we will first go through the book a little. We just probably read from the book, and we will see how to do it. I mean, in the sense, book reading is generally done in two ways. One, if the book is very small, read the whole book once and then come to questions. But I'm not very sure if that is what the method we should take currently, because there are some important points coming in every paragraph, because the entire book, even though it is so small, every word matters, every word is important to our sadhana. So probably at the end of every question, or at the end of every logical group of questions. We will break and we will discuss before we go further. That way, we'll be right in the subject, because we don't have to read it for the sake of reading and then come back again, read it again. Only then we'll be able to frame our questions or frame the answers for that matter. So we will. I've sent the book just now before the commencement of this session to in the group Ramaniyam in WhatsApp. So probably whoever can open that book and follow from here, or you can do it later according to your preference. So we'll start with this book. There is an introductory section in the book. Introduction. Who am I? Is the title given to a set of questions and answers bearing the self-inquiry. The questions were put to Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi by one Sri M. Sivaprakasam Pillai about the year 1902. Sri Pillai, a graduate in philosophy, was at the time employed in the revenue department of South Arcot Collectorate. During his visit to Tiruvannamalai in 1902 on official work, he went to Virupaksha cave on Arunachala hill and met the master there. He sought from him spiritual guidance and solicited answers to questions relating to self-inquiry. As Bhagavan was not talking then, not because of any vow he had taken, but because he did not have any inclination to talk, as he answered the questions put to him by gestures, and when these were not understood, by writing. As recollected and recorded by Sri Sivaprakasam Pillai, there were 14 questions with answers to them given by Bhagavan. This record was first published by Sri Pillai in 1923, along with a couple of poems composed by himself relating to how Bhagavan's grace operated in his case by dispelling his doubts and by saving him from the crisis in life. Who am I? Has been published several times subsequently. We find 30 questions and answers in some editions, 28 in others. There is also another published version in which the questions are not given and the teachings are rearranged in form of an essay. The present rendering of this text in form of 28 questions and answers, along with Vichara Sangraha, self-inquiry, Nanyar, who am I, constitute the first set of instructions in the master's own words. These two are the only prospice among Bhagavan's work. They clearly set forth the central teaching that the direct path of liberation is self-inquiry. The particular mode in which the inquiry is to be made is lucidly set forth in Nanar. The mind consists of thoughts. The I thought is the first to arise in the mind. When the inquiry, who am I, is persistently pursued, all other thoughts get destroyed. And finally, the I thought itself vanishes, leaving the supreme non-dual self alone. The false identification of the self with the phenomena of non-self, such as body and mind, thus ends, and there is elimination, sakshatkara. The process of inquiry, of course, is not an easy one. As one inquires, who am I, other thoughts will arise. But as these thoughts arise, one should not yield to them by following them. On the contrary, one should ask, to whom do they arise? In order to do this, one should be extremely vigilant. Through constant inquiry, one should make the mind stay in its source without allowing it to wander away and get lost in the maze of thoughts created by itself. All other disciplines such as breath control and meditation on the form of God should be regarded as auxiliary practices. They are useful insofar as they help the mind to become quiescent and one-pointed. For mind that has gained skill in concentration, self-inquiry becomes comparatively easy. It is by ceaseless inquiry that the thoughts are destroyed and self-realized. The plenary reality in which there is not even the I thought, the experience which is referred to as silence. This, in substance, is Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi's teaching in Nalar. Who am I? So this is the introductory portion, and uh, we'll go to the main text of the book. We'll see. Who am I? Nan Yar. Nan means I. Yar means who. Nan Yar is the original Tamil word given for this book called Who Am I? All living beings desire to be happy always without misery. As in the case of everyone, there is observed supreme love for oneself. And as happiness alone is the cause for love, in order to gain that happiness, which is one's nature and which is experienced in the state of deep sleep where there is no mind, one should know oneself. For that, the path of knowledge, the inquiry of the form, who am I, is the principal means. No, in this paragraph is being set forth the foundation or the core of this book, why this work came about. Because all of us want to be happy. This is how the book starts. Because happiness is our inherent nature. Happiness is natural to us. So we always want to be happy. If unhappiness was our nature, we would always like to be unhappy. But is there anyone in our experience who wants to be unhappy even for a fleeting second? No. Everyone wants to be happy, totally happy, merged in happiness, because that is our core nature. So, along with we have been seeing being consciousness, happiness is the important aspect of our core nature. It is a part of us. So we cannot be other than happiness. And in order to gain that happy uninterruptedly is why we do all the work that we do today. We work in the world, we try to make money, we try to have all facilities around us. All this only because we want to be happy. And why we want to be happy is because that is our inherent nature. It is there imbibed in us. It is our core nature. So nobody can do anything about it excepting for everybody wanting to be happy all the time. So this is the purpose of getting this book in place. As later on, it was clearly identified or understood. So now, who am I? The gross body, which is composed of 7 humors, dhatus, I am not. The 5 cognitive sense organs, namely the sense of hearing, touch, sight, taste, and smell, which apprehend their respective objects, namely sound, touch, color, taste, and odor, I am not. The 5 cognitive sense organs, namely the organ of speech, locomotion, grasping, excretion, and procreation, which have their respective functions: speaking, moving, grasping, excreting, and enjoying, I am not. The 5 vital airs, prana, etc., which perform respectively the 5 functions of breathing, etc., I am not. Even the mind, which thinks, I am not. The nescience, too, which is endowed with the residual impression of objects and in which there are no objects and no functioning, I am not. So, first he starts off by elimination. This is again, in normal circumstances when Bhagavan was answering a lot of questions when visitors came to meet Bhagavan. He was not necessarily taking this approach in most of the time, that is eliminating the non-I, the body and other things, the Panchakosa and other things. We have seen few times that that is not necessarily the method adapted by Bhagavan. But when Sivaprakasham Pillai specifically wanted to know certain things, these were included. And also in the original questions put by Bhagavan, by Sivaprakasham Pillai to Bhagavan, these were not featured. Sivaprakasham Pillai only asked, "Who am I?" and the following questions related to that, but he never asked who he was not. But later on, when he published the first edition of the book called Who Am I, he included this portion because he was a student of proper structured student of Vedanta, of philosophy. So he wanted to start the book with in a proper way of Vedanta. But that was more taught by classical Vedantic teachers at that time. So he included this paragraph as to who am I, and he started off with who he is not to start. When the book came to Bhagavan, when he started writing his essay version, he retained this for in order to acknowledge the work of Sivaprakasam. So, in this first question, who we are not has been eliminated, saying that these are not I, including the whole gross body, all composed of sense organs, all organs of Karmendriya and Jnanendriya. Karmendriya are organs of action, Jnanendriya are object of or organs of knowledge. For knowing anything, we make use of Jnanendriya, and for doing anything, they make use of one or more Karmendriya. And then we have this prana, we have this breath, and we have seen in a few occasions before that there are pancha pranas, prana which does 5 different activities to maintain the body. That we are not. Again, Bhagavan says, and it's being given up. And then after that, mind is there. So the thinking mind is also not me. It has been declared, so it has been dropped. And then the nations, that is the kind of ignorance that prevails during our deep sleep state. But it's not alone ignorance, it contains the bija of our samsara. So that is the reason why we wake up after a spell of good sleep, deep sleep, we wake up only because of the presence of these vasanas in form of nations in the deep sleep. So that again I am not, I cannot be, so I am not. All these have been so far eliminated as I am not. And if none of these, if I am none of these, then who am I? After negating all the above mentioned as not this, the awareness which alone remains that I am. So we keep on negating. This is the typical Neti Marga of classical methods. So you say, I am not this, I am not this. You have come almost to the end of saying what I am not. And finally, beyond a certain point, you cannot go. You cannot, a negation is not possible. So the point at which a negation is not possible, what remains? What remains at that point is only the awareness. Because there is one person sitting and doing an analysis and negating everything, saying, I am not this, I am not this, I am not this, I am not this. But the person who is doing the job of negation cannot be negated. Because it is that person who is posting all these questions. And that person is nothing but awareness, the pure awareness. And here Bhagavan says, what remains after eliminating everything as not this, that I am. Because I cannot negate the negator. That he has to be present there. He is the one who is doing the job. So, what is the nature of awareness? The nature of awareness is existence, consciousness, and bliss. Is answered. Okay? Which is what is Satchit Ananda. That is the nature. We have to be very careful about this word. That is the nature of awareness, not the qualities or attributes of awareness. This is awareness itself. What is awareness? Awareness is Sat, awareness is Chit, Awareness is Ananda. So that is the nature. So when will this realization of self be gained? When the world, which is what is seen, has been removed, then there will be realization of the self, which is the seer. We will come to this explanation of this a little. Will there not be realization of self even while the world is there that is taken as real? There will not be. Why? The seer and the object seen are like rope and snake. Just as the knowledge of the rope, which is the substrate, will not rise unless the false knowledge of illusory serpent goes, so the realization of self, which is the substrate, will not be gained unless the belief that the world is real is removed. When will the world, which is the object seen, be removed? When the mind, which is the cause all cognitions of all actions, become quiescent, the world will dissolve. So here, from question number 4 onwards, when will the realization be gained? When the world, when the world, and the word is very important here, the world, which is what is seen, which means the world, which is what is there or anything is not said here, which is what is seen. The world is only seen. What is seen? Generally, what we see, what appears. If some a picture or some image appears, we see. So what is seen? So world is being categorized as what is seen. So what is seen can also be unseen, can also be not seen. It is not like the being, which is, whether you see or not, it will always be there, permanent. Whereas world is clearly declared in this word as what is seen. So it means it is a phenomena. It is only an appearance. It is not the noumena, which is what is always present. So it appears. When it appears, you see it. When it does not appear, you don't see it. That is the nature of the world. So it is clearly described that world is seen. In fact, there is a Sanskrit term for that. Lokayata iti loka. It is called world because it is seen. That is a clear explanation given. I'll send the exact description later. So, will there not be realization of self and the world together? Is an implication of the question, and it's been answered. No, there won't. Why? Because, as we have seen a number of times in this rope and snake example, when a snake appears, why does the snake appear on the rope? Because we don't know it is a rope, so we are seeing the snake. It appears like a snake, and we are seeing the snake. And when will that appearance of rope be obtained? Only when the snake idea vanishes. We will be able to see that it is rope. So with scrutiny, when we destroy the idea of snake, we are going to see only the rope. And once that rope is seen, after that, we are not going to see the snake on the rope because we have had a clear understanding. And once we have that understanding, beyond that, we cannot be fooled because we have had our analysis in place and we have clearly come to a conclusion this is not a snake and this is a rope, and we have realized this, we have understood the rope, and so we are going to only see the rope after realizing that it is not a snake. Similarly, what appears as the world has the self as its substrate, as its base. So there has to be some base or foundation on which any appearance can take place. Appearance cannot just hang in air. There has to be a base on which an appearance can take place. Like for example, we see a picture, we see a lot of moving scenes, but there has to be a basic screen on which it happens. Without that screen, where can this image be projected? Where can this image be seen? When we have a photography, or that photography is on top of a photographic plate or a paper or a sheet, whatever. So a substrate or a substratum is adhisthana, is absolutely necessary for false appearance to take place. So here it is said that just like how the snake appears on top of the existing rope, the world, which is illusory, appears on top of the forever existing something. That is a substrate. So it is said that when the world appears, the substrate is not seen. Just like how when the snake appears, the rope is not seen. And similarly, when the rope appears, the knowledge of rope is gained. Snake is not going to appear because we are not going to be fooled anymore. We have studied it well and we have understood that it is nothing but the substrate, which is the rope. So the false knowledge of snake is not going to appear to us. Similarly, when we do a proper investigation in form of who am I and understand that we are the self upon which the world is projected, we are not going to be fooled about this world anymore. There is a small difference between the example of rope snake and the world appearance. It is like this. We see the rope and snake, the rope appears, shines forth brightly when the knowledge of snake is given up. And from there on, the snake is not going to be. In the case of self and the world, the self is what shines as a substratum, and we do vichara in form of who am I, and understand that we are the self, and the world is illusory. But even after understanding, the illusory world will keep appearing. It is not completely gone out of our vision. We turn here, we are going to see a tree or whatever or anything. The world will not go out like how it appears like for a blind man. That is not the sense in which the world is going to go away. What is the sense in which the world is disappearing? The world becomes like a mirage. We see, we travel in a desert or in a arid place, hot place, and we see the appearance of mirage. We know it is false. Even after knowing that the mirage is false, it continues to appear. But after knowing that it is a mirage, will anyone go run after the mirage for any utility, for the sake of any gain? We won't. Even though it appears that there is a lot of water in the mirage in form of an oasis that appears in the desert, we know it is false appearance due to a particular condition of the of nature. It is appearing. We won't go to for our wants and for our needs. We won't go. Similarly, once realization has taken place, even though the world continues to appear in whatever way, we don't know yet it will appear because that is what is given by in Vedantic statements. It will continue to appear, but we know the false nature or the non-existing nature of this world and the futility, and we will not run after the world to satisfy any requirement or to participate in its activities or anything. It will keep appearing parallelly. We won't even bother. We will ignore it just like how we ignore a mirage. So here is a small difference between the analogies of rope and snake and a mirage. The world itself are like the mirage appearing, but once a jnani, once a state of jnani is achieved, nobody is going to be caring about the world or what appears. Let it appear, that's all. That will be the attitude. So this is the reason why world appearance and self cannot shine forth at the same time. The world appearance will have to go. Go in the sense we saw. So it has to become mirage-like before we actually see the self, realize the self. So when will the world, which is an object seen, be removed? When the mind, which is the cause of all cognitions and all actions, become quiescent, the world will disappear, is what the state is. So, what is the driving point that we learn from the seventh question and the answer put to the seventh question is that it is mind, it is because of mind the world comes forth. So, the corollary that in the absence of mind, world cannot come forth is established. So, when mind is not there, as in the case of our deep sleep, do we see the world in our deep sleep? No, we do not see the world. We do not see the world because there is no experience of the world in the deep sleep. And what is the difference between the deep sleep and our condition now? At that time, mind was absent. Now, mind is present. So, this is the only difference we are able to see. So, what is the fact that is getting established? When mind is there, world is seen. When mind is not there, world is not seen. So, what is the cause of the world? Can we not say mind? Bhagavan has given that in an elaborate sloka in Ulladu Narpadu, I think sloka number 5 and 6. He will see that later. But here in one statement, when mind, which is the cause of all cognitions, or all cognitions and all actions become quiescent, the world will disappear. And we see that in our deep sleep example every night. So, Bhagavan asks, is there anything called a world other than mind? It is a rhetoric question. It is clearly declared there is nothing called a world other than mind. And what is the nature of the mind? What is called mind is a wondrous power residing in the self. It causes all thoughts to arise. Apart from thoughts, there is no such thing as mind. Therefore, thought is the nature of the mind. Apart from thoughts, there is no independent entity called the pearl. Deep sleep, there are no thoughts and there is no world. In the states of waking and dream, there are thoughts and there is a world also. Just as the spider emits the thread of web out of itself and again withdraws it into itself, likewise, the mind projects the world out of itself and again dissolves it into itself. When the mind comes out of the self, the world appears. Therefore, when the world appears to be real, the self does not appear. And when the self appears, shines, the world does not appear. When one persistently inquires into the nature of mind, the mind will end, leaving the self as the residue. What is referred to as the self is the Atman. The mind always exists only in dependence on something gross. It cannot stay alone. It is the mind that is called the subtle body or the soul, also known as Jiva. So, the question called what is mind has been put forth. We have scrutinized this nature of mind before, and here what is the answer given? Mind is a wondrous power that resides in the self, which means that mind is issued forth only from the self under a condition. There is a condition based on which, from the pristine pure eye, a spark comes out as I, as individual I, as we have seen in many examples before, many times before the same example. There is the Satchitananda, the I, the Sat, the ever being, from which a small, which is akin to a big flame, from which a small spark comes out as I, ego, and it considers a body as its boundary, and it's got enmeshed there, and it thinks that it's limited to the body. So it originally was a part or a constituent or of the nature of Satchitananda. Due to some condition called ignorance, this came about. This small spark came about. Similarly, and this also is known as mind. This is what is mind, because we have seen before in a sloka, Bhagavan makes it clear that mind has many names. One name is mind. Ego is another name. Jiva is another name. Samsara is another name. All these are nothing but mind. So this mind is a wondrous power residing in the self itself, and classical Vedanta says that the condition that makes the mind comes out is Maya, because Maya is also an integral part, an unexplainable part that is there in the self forever. That is Anirvachaniya, that is why it is called. It cannot be described like this, that, or whatever. It is nobody is capable of describing Maya. That is why it is Maya. It remains to be Maya. And because of this Maya, certain things happen. There are two things. Classical Vedanta will distinguish between Maya and Avidya. A condition called Avidya is needed for individualization. A condition called Maya is needed for the world appearance, is what they say. But there are plenty of such explanation in Vedanta, in Vedantic science, and which have been dealt with very elaborately by big scholars. But in Bhagavan's school of teaching, all this is not given great importance. It is important that we know that due to a condition, from an existing energy or from an existing power that is there in the self, mind comes out. Bhagavan, according to Bhagavan, this is enough, because we are not here to research all the tattvas. We are here to eliminate the mind. So we have clearly seen the mind has come out due to some mysterious power. Let us not go behind a research of what that mysterious power is, because that is of no use to our sadhana. Bhagavan will never allow us to venture into anything that is scholarly when there is no need. So here it is clearly established or demonstrated there is no great need for us to really understand the nature of Maya. So due to Maya, which is a wondrous power residing in the self, it came out, and that's enough. So here he stops with that. It causes all thoughts to arise. The mind causes all thoughts to arise. So apart from thoughts, there's no such thing called mind. You have seen this in Nipatesa Saram in elaboration. Ennangale manam. Only thoughts is nothing but, mind is nothing but a bundle of thought. Multitude of thought is what is known as mind. Other than that, there is nothing called mind on its own accord. So it is only because of, due to the mysterious built-in power, an individuality comes out and thoughts arises because of that. So these thoughts put together are called as mind collectively. So in deep sleep, there are no thoughts, as we have seen. So when there is no thought, there is no mind. There is nothing, no entity that can be called as mind. And in waking and dream state, we have thoughts. We are full of thoughts, as a matter of fact. And so the mind is predominant. And when the mind was absent, the world was absent. When the mind holds the fort like a very strong entity, the world always appears. Is there a minute that we are not seeing the world in this state of waking? We always see the world, because the mind is forever present here. So the simple thing to understand is, if you want to get rid of the world, you have to get rid of the mind. Without getting rid of the mind, the world is not going to disappear at all. Because The world has mind as its substratum. It appears on that. And it's an indirect way, and mind has a substratum itself. So we generally popularly say the world is projected from the self through mind. Maybe we can, for sake of elaboration, we can say that. So, therefore, when the world appears to be real, the self does not appear. And when the self appears, shines forth, the world does not appear. It's very clear. When one persistently inquires into the nature of mind, the mind will end, leaving the self as visible. This we have seen is a core of this Who Am I technique taught by Bhagavan. How to do practice the Vichara Marga is to with very focused mind to watch the feeling of I, which will come, I mean, down the line. We have plenty of scope for discussion on that, and we will address that. But for now, it is said, when the nature of mind, when one persistently inquires into the nature of mind, the mind will disappear, leaving the self as the residue. This much is a concept for now. What is referred to as self is Atman. When we say we read Atman, the word called Atman in many literatures, we say Atman, Atman, Atman. So Atman is nothing but self. And we also see this word called self. And initially, for people who are new to this path, when they come across the word self, it is a little confusion. It is a little confusing. They wonder what the self is all about. What is self? Later on, it is explained for clarity what is called as Atman and what is called as self. They are one and the same. So self is nothing but Atman. This Atman can be termed in many ways the original, pristine, pure Atman, or it can be the Atman that we assume ourselves to be now. It can be anything. But the feeling of I, we are calling it as Atman at any point in time. What we are currently, what we assume ourselves to be currently, we call it as Atman, and so we wrongly call it as self currently. What is self? The capitalized yes form of self is a pristine, pure I, the Satchitananda. The self that we have now is the feeling of self, like myself, yourself, himself, itself, and all that. They are not the original self. So, here it is said, self is Atman. The mind always exists only in dependence on something gross. This we have seen again a few times before. Something gross is needed for the mind, otherwise the mind cannot survive. It needs thoughts, it needs some body, it needs to assume something, it has to have something to cling on. Otherwise, the mind will fall down and perish if it is deprived. That is why the nature of Atma Vichara, we deprive the mind of all the strength that it derives from second and third person, and we stay focused on the feeling called I, which is the first person. And it is not, since it is not a thought, we have seen the mind cannot survive. It will crumble down, it will fall. So it is the mind that is the subtle body and the soul, or the soul also called as the jiva. We saw mind has plenty of names before. So this is the nature of mind. So then later we will start following the path of inquiry to understand what is mind, the nature of mind. So with this foundation, we will draw a line now. We will see, we'll discuss on the subject should somebody wants to know something based on what we have studied so far. We will not rush through this book. We will take logically. First, we have understood the nature of mind, so the world and mind so far. Next, the nature of inquiry. We will start in our next session. So that we won't have an overdose of anything at any time. So now, based on this book, Who Am I, or based on whatever you have read anywhere, we can discuss whatever we based on the questions or doubts that anyone has.
I like this phrase. Mind is a wondrous power.
Yes,
Uh,
yes,
but I what I understood is when it is um, allowed to go out after the senses, after the sensual pleasures, then it's abused. And when
yes,
it is made quiet, it merges with the ultimate, the true self. Probably that is what is, uh, I don't know, that is what I
Yes.
inferred from this.
Yes.
Then second thing is, most of the times what happens is, this is such a powerful tool. When it goes out after, you said happiness is something very innate for any being, right? So we all strive to be happy, but when we divert this mind to the external world, that is where it goes like a pendulum, or it goes helter skelter here and there after the sensual pleasures, which are very transient. But when it is diverted inside, that is when it understands what the true happiness is. But for that, the mind has to be trained as to what is important. For it to be a mind to be mindful, it has to be trained. I think all this yoga, meditation are all for all, many of us actually, where it's very difficult to control the mind when we sit for meditation. So probably that is the exercise. And to sit for quietly for a very long time also is very difficult for many of us. So that is where the body has to be conditioned. That is where the yoga exercises come into play. And probably to meditate on something, to focus the mind has to be trained. So probably that is where the breathing exercises have come into play. But Bhagwan, because he's Bhagwan, he was directly into it, and he just simplified it for all of us, that when you inquire question by question, by negating each and everything, you remain what you are, the true self. That is what I understood.
Yes, what you say is true. There are two parts to it. Yes, mind is a wondrous power that is there in potential form in the self itself, which means which is not expressed. Only it is expressed when only when it comes out as a spark of oil. Before which it is there in latent form or in potential form in the being itself, uh, in form of Maya. Again, we will accept that there is a thing called mind and there is a thing called Maya only from our current position. A jnani, after he has realized it's gone, he's transcended, will not even agree that there is a Maya in the self in potential form or this mind in the self in potential form. This is, we think that a wondrous power called mind is residing because we are feeling that mind and we know that mind has to have come forth from somewhere and we are able to find no logical place other than the self from which it could have issued forth. So we say at our point of awareness or at our point of with our current state of knowledge, we say that mind is always residing in a potent form in the self. That is fine for now, for our understanding. We will deal with whether the mind resides in the state of in self, in potential form or not when we reach there. Now we cannot because we are again putting use of the same mind to do the analysis. So we are not very guaranteed that we are going to get a proper answer unless we be as the self, unless we go to the being, not thinking. Unless we shun the thinking and go to the being, we won't know the correct answers. But Jnanis, Bhagavan, and have given plenty of on plenty of occasion when there was an opportunity. What the state is there, we can only theoretically appreciate that currently. We might not, we won't know, we won't understand it. Hence, for us to understand it is given, mind is a wondrous power itself. And to the second aspect of making use of the mind, it depends. There are four Purusharthas, as we all know: Artha, Moksha, Karma, Dharma, and Artha, Kama, Dharma, Moksha. So it depends on what do you want. What is your prime Purushartha that you have assumed? Like you want to live a quite nice dharmic life, be completely righteous in all ways, and live a peaceful, clean life. That is dharmic life. Or if you want a lot of wealth, you want to amass a lot of wealth, you can take the artha. or the kama, you want to fulfill, keep fulfilling all your desires, you can go to the kama path. Then there is this moksha path. So, this putting the use of mind rightfully is very applicable to artha, kama, and dharma purusharthas. You need a mind, and for dharma path especially, you need a mind that is absolutely won't waver, swerve here and in any way from the path of dharma written down in our scriptures or whatever. You won't do anything wrong. So the mind is trained to be a good mind. Now, when it comes to the moksha part, good or bad deeds of mind does not matter at all. The only aim is to get rid of the mind, destroy the mind. Hence, the path, the acts of pranayama and the softening of the mind, there is nothing called taming the mind that we talk about in Vichara Marga. Only destruction of mind is our aim. So we don't care whether the mind, however the mind, when the mind issues forth, we are in danger. We know the mind should not issue forth, is our aim. Whereas in a dharmic life that we want to live, mind can issue forth, will issue forth, is needed. That mind has to be pure, soft, subtle, always sattvic, and all that is there. So the need or for doing all this extra all these extra activities like pranayama or sitting in meditation, focusing, doing puja, all that is only to make a clean mind. Of course, it is useful step to be taken, as we have seen in Upadesa Saram. When the mind is cleansed in this form, that mind is going to be ready for vichara. It will participate in vichara more willingly. That is a preparatory step. But the core is for doing all these preparatory, all these taming the mind or making a good mind, making a sattvic mind is all based on the purushartha we have chosen. If one wants to be in this world as a righteous man all through, live for upakara, do for his fellow beings and all that, if that is the purpose one has conceived in life, I have to live a meaningful life. I should be useful to somebody. I cannot be a selfish. Well, most of the, almost about 80% or even 90% or even more of the worldly people belong to this category. Or I want to be useful to my community. I want to be useful to my fellow being. And that is why they come about doing all this charity work, setting up multiple educational institutions across the country, chain of institutions, laying roads, and all that, making building hospitals everywhere, and all that. It's all with dharma, with I want to be a dharmic person. That is my purushartha in mind. Whereas a person who has crossed that out, who does not have taste, that says, I want only moksha, I don't care about all this, he is not going to be bothered to sit in meditation, tame them. He is going to straight away jump into the vichara, the atma vichara, propounded by Bhagavan in form of in the method of who am I, and he is only going to be bothered about mano nasa, destruction of the mind. He does not want a good mind, a bad mind. He does not want mind. This is what his ultimate aim is, and anything short of that, he is not going to accept. So these are the two things we have to have in that. We have to, each one, we have to determine whatever purushartha is. All purushartha is fine as long as long as they function for your conceived goal, or as long as they are not ill-directed. So anything you are a kind of person who want to keep on satisfying all your desires, keep doing. That is the purushartha called kama. If you want to do amass wealth and all that, that is the thing called artha. And you want to be a most sincere, neat, useful person, you follow the Pujata called dharma. Or if you want to just throw all this out and transcend and be one with the self, choose the Purushartha called moksha. So, based on what Purushartha you have chosen for yourself, you can have the mind. The utility called mind will come in and help you in such a way. And in the Purushartha called moksha, the mind, what can mind do? The mind can die. That's the only help the mind can do. So It depends on what we choose to do, what we have chosen, our ultimate goal.
Only
Okay.
one thing is,
Yes.
whenever this book is, I mean, repeatedly gone through,
Yes.
there is one sentence, what I really um, getting fumbled lot many times is that it says for us to at least understand and be in the path of this Vichara Marga. I know it's difficult, but there are, as we have been discussing in Ullardunar Padu and other few earlier things also. There is one strong statement which is made that we have to see this world as unreal and then follow towards this marga. Sometimes it is like again there is a nishkamya karma that is always there. Okay. Um, for me, like for especially for me, like people, it is traveling on 2 3 boats. Neither traveling in samsara, neither trying to be in vichara marga, neither trying to go in that. As you rightly said, it is Guru's grace. As and when the time comes, he will put forth that uh, his blessings on to just to take it into the next level. I definitely understand, but the time is passing off. Every day is a time pass statement. Sometimes it wonders, like tomorrow never comes. Like tomorrow, we do not know whether we are there or not. We definitely will be having that ray of hope that we will be able to get up tomorrow. But as it is not in our hands, always there is some kind that time is getting wasted, time is getting wasted, time is getting wasted every day passing. But even then, that concentration is not happening on the day for some time. When there is actually a raise in tempo 1 2 hours or 3 hours, again after that there is a kind of perturbance. Even though we understand that there should be some period at some point of time for this for these worldly activities. What I mean is that um, there is food, there is clothing, and there is a house to live, and there is something to live. But still, that vasanas are not making me to keep a period for that, because there are some other extra things which we have taken onto our head. And but that sharanagati, what we call, is again of all of these things, there is as we say that that sharanagati not still completely getting coming like how this to be understood. Whenever this these 14 stanzas, or whenever we sit for 1 2 hours, it is like a dog's tail for me. Until we are there, we are okay. The moment we are coming back, the tail is as usual as a dog. So we are in that kind of every. I know there it is, but for me it is like a kind of statement that how soon Bhagavan will acquire that grace of him or something like that.
Yes. I understand. I understand your points well. You talked about time a bit. That time we are wasting our time. We don't know what will happen about things. If first, that these are all indirect, stumbling blocks that we are following or we are putting on ourselves without our knowledge. Reason for saying that is it is very clearly established that time is in mind. Time is mind brain. So, in deep sleep, you have to go back to the analysis and see, is there something called time in deep sleep? No, it was not that. And time is, even if you, with the help of the mind, assume something called time, it is relative. Because we are talking about this time only from the birth of this body to the death of this body, within which whatever can be done is a time. But if you take the holistic time from births of the hundreds of thousands of millions of body before, what is this lifespan? And nothing but a speck, which is not meaningful or useful to do anything at all. So that thought that my time is wasted, you have to do this today, otherwise my time is gone, has no great value. It may appear to have its value, but it does not have value, because instead of bothering about the time, our faith, we should be working towards our faith in Bhagavan. And the Saranagati that you mentioned is very one of the most difficult. It is as good as self-realization. It is not going to happen like that, because a lot of people even now say, I have surrendered everything to Bhagavan, His will. If that is the case, anything other than fundamental survival will not come into our mind. Anything that is not a part of the fundamental requirement for survival, we are not going to do, because we have surrendered everything to Bhagavan and Bhagavan is going to take care. We are doing. We are still continuing to do. Every one of us, quite a lot we have been doing, and it will continue for a long time. Let it continue. Let it continue. So surrendering is very, very, very tough. We cannot that easily surrender. It's more, rather than surrendering. In fact, you will start appreciating. Vichara is far more easier than surrender, because that surrender, you have completely given everything to Bhagavan and you're going to sit in one corner. Nothing else you're going to do. You are not allowed to do anything. If you do anything using your mind, you have lost you have not surrendered. That's all. So that also comes to Manonasa only ultimately. So it all depends on, and each one of us, yes, are in 2, 3 boats, yes, in a boat called worldly life, in a boat called Vichara, in a boat called Bhakti, and all that is happening parallelly. But it is up to us to really, over a period of time, refine, shrink one and increase the other. Shrink the time spent in one, either that way, or shrink the inclination. I would say this is better than the time spent. Shrink the inclination in one and have the faith in the other. That is exactly why I said initially that we have to be very clear about, at this point in time, what is my Purushartha? Have I clearly decided all I want is only moksha? If I have clearly decided I want only moksha, then I would have by now dropped. Why will I need all this? Why will I need even any money next month? When the month comes, why will I need money? Moksha is what I am trying. No, we are not yet come there. Once we go to that state, we are called as mumukshus. We are not yet mumukshus. We are all want to be mumukshus. We are all attempting to come to the state of aiming for Atma Vichara, aiming for Atma Sahijyam. So we have not yet come to that state at all. We are still lagging behind. We have not yet decided that all I want is moksha. We are not able to say that with conviction. If we are able to say that with conviction, we are not even going to be bothered about anything else in this world. We are not even going to bother to work, to earn, to do whatever. We are only going to be focused on this. So we have to understand what is the station of life and live a life in accordance, without jolting the boat beyond a point, and because if we jolt the boat beyond a point, well, we will completely lose the boat. We can, like, for example, I want to do vichara on the one hand, and for which certain demands are there, and I want to also sort of take care of my family. I still believe that I have a family. I want to take care of my family. I want to give them all the best that is available in the world today. I want them to travel in the best cars. I want them to go to the best schools, for which money is needed. But I want to do vichara. These are conflicting thoughts that we have. Will be there from time to time, but you have to clearly understand, in order to succeed either in providing with our children or whoever, It is what are the best, which means most of our thought should be on earning them. Nothing wrong if you decide that. But if you have decided the other side, it is incompatible. If you wanted moksha, it is incompatible. These worldly activities are totally incompatible. So you got to shrink it to the extent of survival of the body. You can do vyavahara only to the extent of body survival, because this body is somehow needed for the moksha prasadana to be concluded, for to be done, the visatma vichara to be done. So we slowly will have to move from, one can move from one purushartha to the other according to the station in life, according to the progress in maturity of the individual. Nothing wrong. But we need to be clear about what we want to achieve and be meaningful, and be doing meaningfully in that line of action. Like, I want to provide the best of best to my near and dears, but I want to do vichara. I want to fully sit and do vichara. It's totally incompatible. It is, we will not succeed in either one of them. Both of them will become a total failure, and we will feel very sorry for ourselves. So we got to, or you be, okay, I've decided I'm going to provide the best for my near and dear. I need, so for which I need quite a lot of the money of this world. So I'm going to work towards it. But at the same time, I don't want to lose my touch with the ultimate thing which I understand is Atman. So accordingly, proportionately, you have to work towards. So that way you will succeed in one thing and slowly be able to give where you have already succeeded, slowly reduce the interest there and come to the other marga. So you got to be very clear about why you are doing all things you are doing. Why, if you are always wanting to sit in vichara, do nothing, you can sit in the gate of Ramanashram, or in just one corner of Ramanashram, just have only one pair of dhoti and one shirt or whatever, just for fundamental requirement, and just go to Narayana Seva, just get your food and eat. Beyond this, what do you want? Nothing else needed. Do you need a separate thing called maybe a house, maybe a small shed to protect you from rain and shine? So it depends on what you want. Whereas you want to come to Ramanashram in a luxurious way, spend time, enjoy Bhagavan's presence. Everything has its own place and everything is perfectly acceptable. It is not that nothing is right, nothing is wrong. It depends on what you have set forth for yourselves. It depends on what you want to do. So you have to clearly understand what is that you are driving towards currently. That way, you will slowly stop putting your sailing in two boats at the same time and putting too much pressure on yourself. Be clear about what you want to do. Accordingly, change your inclinations. Circumstances, once you made up your mind, circumstances will automatically come about for the best of what you have decided to do. Like, for example, I've almost come to the conclusion I don't want anything other than the moksha sadhana. So I'm not going behind anything. I've given up all whatever little I had, and I'm in dangerous financial position if you will understand it from that point of view. But I mean, really back from a point of view of a worldly man. But I said that's fine. I have accepted, I have decided, I have to go. And people like Pattinatta and other jnanis who live, who are part of this Pannirittirumurai and all, said, you got to become a pauper. Unless you become a pauper, and one of the recently somebody told me, your bank account has to become zero. Till such time you will have difficulties. He was saying. I immediately came back, and when I was coming back, I was asking with whom I went. He says bank account zero. Then I realized what a foolish question I am asking. His bank account may be zero or not zero. He is living his life. He's not saying anything. He is only saying, in order to go to the ultimate state, what is needed, what is desirable. You got to, like a fool, you got to be circumambulating the Arunachala hill. All this he used to say. like a Paitya current. You need to walk around the Arunachalati. All this is right in its own sense, but it depends. So in my case, since I have decided this, there is going to be a lot of compromises that I'll have to make. I won't even have to say that it is a compromise. I should not even be saying that it is a compromise because I'm not. That is a natural way, natural progression. So if I decide this is how I should be, and I have chosen that, I might as well be truthful and meaningful to what I have chosen rather than trying to make a little bit of funds from here and there, doing this part. This okay, I have some free time. I'll do this business. I will earn some, keep it for my, because I've told Bhagavan, my insurance is you. Why should I need any money for safety for rainy days? I don't need anything. If rainy days comes and kills me and I have to perish, let it be so. I'm very happy. This body, about the nature of this body, everybody knows its destiny is already decided by Prarabdha. Prarabdha is going to kill that body. Let the Prarabdha do its job. What have I to do? I don't want to now come and create a new Agamiya or using my mind and doing some karma. I don't want all that. I'm only asking Bhagavan to give me more strength to go more and more in that direction and give up even little of what I have. That is because I am choosing this volitionally. It is nobody is forcing anything on anyone. I said I want this and I am choosing it. Likewise, each one can choose what they want according to the station in life and progress also. Like I was not this about 25 years ago. I wanted to live luxuriously too. But I don't know what happened. I don't know if it is because of some punya, whatever it is. Some karma is working, and it slowly made me withdrew from all this going behind luxuries and monies and things like that, and it brought me to at the feet of Bhagavan. So such a power will also always indirectly work as a guide to us. So we should also focus and follow on that power. But at the same time, if we are at this point in time using our mind for most of the things, let us use it also to find out what I want to do. We can only go by the dictates of the mind so far as we want to be in the first three Purusharthas: Artha, Moksha, Artha, Kama, and Dharma. When you want to go, you have to necessarily kill the mind. There is no two ways about it. That is when you will be able to transcend the mind. So, everyone has an option, has the opportunity to decide for themselves as to what they want. That is achieved, then we won't be double mind, or we won't be chasing both end of the stick at the same time. We will know clearly what. But at the same time, we'll also journey nicely in life, and we'll also slowly pave way towards the ultimate also of Bhagavan's teaching. Everything is possible according to how we want.
Thank you so much for this explanation, sir. This is what we need because we have to decide and we have to follow that. Truly, this
Yes.
is best thing, means founding thing which we have to keep in our mind, that what we want to be. Okay, it is not that what we need. As things slowly progress, I cannot explain, but today's this explanation is what even I feel. We have to decide and we have to do. I don't say that I can compare myself or I am at par to understand the things. But as you said, we have to decide which way we want to go. Then things will automatically follow that way with Ramana's grace.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
That is one thing. Always never leave the faith in Bhagavan's at the feet of. Always try to do whatever you want to do. Try to be at the feet of Bhagavan. That should never go. That should never be compromised for any reason at any time. This is
Yes.
all
Yes.
we need to do. And with that in mind, you can do what you choose to do in life. But be clear about it. But each one has its own demands. We have to be clear. If you want to live a little luxurious life, or if you want a best for your kith and kin, that demands a different kind of life. That demands a different kind of focus. Because by sitting simply, we cannot become Ambani's. That man is thinking for even more than 24 hours a day, as I was told. He keeps thinking, his mind is never stops. He keeps creating more wealth. So each one of our will demands a different different way of approach to our life. What we have. Similarly, for somebody who's decided, like for example, we say Prakasham Pillai as our example in number of points. He was absolutely clear. He cared nothing about knowing who he is. So he was living half the time. He was living only in the burial ground in Palchori, his village. He used to sit in that burial ground where nobody will disturb him, and he was doing his vichara. He had nothing called a house. He had nothing. He was at the mercy of people. Whoever gave him some food, somebody was there. They all know that he is a very man of pious man, and they gave him some food, and that was enough for him. He chose clearly what he wanted. Similarly, Muruganar. And there are a lot of people who came to Bhagavan during the days of Bhagavan, who are not necessarily as focused as Sivaprakasam Pillai or Muruganar or other people like them are. But they were in two boats. They also lived their life accordingly, choosing what they want, and they were all at the same time. Their love for Bhagavan was always equally matched. By no means was one person great. By no means, because you have chosen a worldly life, by no means your love for Bhagavan will have to be considered as low. Never. Love for Bhagavan is what enabling us to breathe even our next breath. This is our this kind of faith in Bhagavan is enough. I am breathing, I am living today only because of the grace of Bhagavan. But what I want to do, I will do, I will choose, and I will do meaningful justice to what I am. This is what we have to bear it.